What's going on, Falcons fans? Before we begin today's video of Rise Up Rundown, first off, I wanted to say thank you to everyone that has supported my comic channel. And if you have been following me for a long time, you'll know that those characters that I create is what I would like to do in the future. And it just means a lot to me that there's a little bit of a following on there. Heck, I didn't even think I was going to get more than 5 views per video on that channel. And I know averaging around 50 to 100 views doesn't sound like a lot. It means the absolute world to me, so I thank you all for that. And because of that, if you also have been following me for a long time, you'll know that there is a huge comic coming up called The 1020 Detective that should come out next month, October 20th, 2022. I actually released the final trailer for that last weekend, and this trailer is... Honestly, I just was so impressed by how I made this trailer. I feel the editing is the best I've ever done, and there's even a little bit of voiceover work from me, and it also just overall, I think, gives a good idea of what the comic is really about. Just the overall storytelling and the fact that, and I don't really know what inspired me to even make the storytelling this dark in the first place, but it goes over a little bit of a tease of the world problems the comic will kind of discuss, such as brainwashing and even suicidal thoughts. Again, I don't know where I thought of the idea to just make a story off of real world problems, but I gave it a shot, and the comic, I think, does a pretty good job of teasing what most of those are going to be in the comic. And I just would just really appreciate even if you guys just gave it a simple look. That would mean like absolutely everything to me. So I just thought I'd share that to all of you, and hopefully these characters and this trailer and this comic that is coming out real soon, hopefully it can hit you somewhere at home just like it does to me. But now on to the Rise Up Rundown game recap, where we'll go over the Falcons and Seahawks game. We'll also show my comedic intro, and we'll also show my mustache that no one has ever complained about in the comment section, and I actually forgot to shave it before I started recording that Rise Up Rundown video. So, enjoy.
On a first down pitch, Patterson stepping through the Seahawks and busting across the 40-yard line.
It is truly unreal how hot you are. Like, it blows my mind. What's going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown. And if you're new here, welcome. So, finally, we're going to have a game recap going over a Falcons victory for the 2022 season, and hopefully more to come. There's actually a lot of positive takeaways to make up this. There's really only 2 negatives. So I'll just go over those negatives real quickly, and then we'll go over the really cool positives that I saw from this game. The first negative that I saw is the offensive line. I will admit, I probably did overrate during the season. This offensive line is just not very good. They had a miraculous week 1, and ever since then, they honestly just haven't been very good. Marcus Mariota's taking sacks, and just a lot of pressure is seemingly consistently always in his face. So this offensive line, I think, is better at least than last year, but still some work to do. They've been okay run blocking, but man, with pass protection, it's not been there, and they got to get better. And then the second negative takeaway, this is really the only hot take of the whole entire year, is Dean Pease might be on the hot seat, to be honest with you. And, you know, a lot of people like to mention the plays that were made last Sunday versus the Seahawks, where, you know, Richie Grant had the game-sealing interception, and then Grady Jarrett with the huge sack, and then, you know, AJ Terrell made some plays here and there. Sure, like, there were plays, but man, this is kind of what the Falcons defense has been for years. It's really just, I mean, even going back to years past, our defense has always just been, you know, filled with players. Like, you know, there was talent, but we never actually produced. It's kind of like, you know, you see Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen, Deion Jones, Dante Fowler. Like, there's names, but they're not actually producing. And unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, I kind of see the exact same thing with Dean Pease's defense. There's names, but they're not really producing at the rate that they're supposed to be. And I don't know how many times I have to go over the fact that Dean Pease feels like he's all like, tough and, oh, I know more than you in the press conference, and does exactly what he does in the games. I don't know if he should be fired yet, but man, I'm really close to saying that he should be, because his defense has just not been good with the Falcons. And if he keeps this up, I think it's actually time to start considering if Dean Pease should be fired. So I thought that was actually kind of a hot take, but those are really the only negatives I saw from this game. And, obviously there was the whole drone thing that kind of ruined the momentum, and then the read option just failed. So I guess that was a negative, but it was really just one bad play and just this weird drone situation that I don't really even know what to say. So really the only two negative takeaways I have is Dean Pease in the defense, and that our offensive line is not as good as I thought it was. I will admit that. But what are the positives? Let's go over the positives of this game, because there's actually a lot. For one thing, let's go over the obvious. Kyle Pitts did finally get utilized. Finally. He had nearly 800 yards, well, that would have been awesome, but he nearly had 100 yards, but had 80 yards. He would have had the greatest single game yards ever if that was 800 and whatnot. It would have been a shame if there was no touchdown there, but Kyle Pitts did finally get utilized, and I believe the Falcons are actually undefeated whenever Kyle Pitts gets 80 plus yards. So I don't know, Arthur Smith. If I were you, I would kind of sort of continue to throw to him, but Kyle Pitts just made some plays. There was one play early on in the game where I actually felt like he was close to a touchdown, but either way, I could see it. Marcus Mariota in the red zone, there were so many plays where he was looking his way, like he was like looking at him, but, ultimately he never got a touchdown. But we're all just happy to see that Kyle Pitts did get utilized finally. And I will say, the fans' voices can be heard. Do not act like you can't be heard. I admit one thing. If Kyle Pitts being utilized was never this big discussion by the fans, and if the fans, let's be real, they kind of bullied Arthur Smith into trying to get Kyle Pitts utilized. If they never really made their complaints pretty clear, I don't think he would have been utilized. So this is proof that the Falcons are listening. Do not take this as, oh, we're fans, they're never going to listen. I think they're listening, man. So if there's something that you don't like about this team, do not be afraid to say it. I think this team actually does listen to what you say. And the Kyle Pitts, Arthur Smith situation is just a huge example of that. People were mad about Kyle Pitts not getting utilized. He therefore gets utilized. So just don't be afraid to get your voice out there. It can matter. And this is coming from someone that didn't used to believe that, by the way. I used to be like, oh my gosh, they're not going to care and whatnot. But all right, I was wrong. It seems like they actually do listen. So I just wanted to say that. The other good takeaway is the offense actually did ball out like I predicted, because the Seahawks defense, isn't really all that good. But it's also just because, man, I really do like what Arthur Smith is doing for this team. I mean, Marcus Mariota finally did have a good game. Finally. Statistically, he didn't look great. There was that interception, but that was just the weirdest play call towards the end of the first half. I don't know what that was about. And then, okay, now some people say it's the running back's fault. Some people say it's Marcus Mariota's fault. But regardless, there was that read option in the end where, whoever's fault it was, it shouldn't have been a fumble. So I just won't comment much more on that. But Marcus Mariota actually had a pretty good game. His running game was obviously pretty strong, as it's honestly been all year. But man, he's finally making some good throws. I saw some good throws down the sideline, and I saw some accurate throws for once. So it was just nice to see Marcus Mariota finally get a pretty good game here. And do I expect that to continue? He'll maybe have like 2 or 3 more good games, but I don't know if it'll actually continue throughout the entirety of the year, if you know what I mean. I think he'll kind of just be that inconsistent quarterback we all know he is. But yeah, it's awesome to see Marcus Mariota get a good game here. Drake London, he didn't have as many catches as last week, but he still had a touchdown, and we're just happy to see him get utilized. Olamide Zaccheaus made some plays, and man, I just decided to put this as a separate takeaway. Cordarrelle Patterson. Everyone is just so excited to see this guy play, and this is the second game all year where he had 120 plus yards. So it was an amazing idea to just give him another contract extension, even though he's just a running back, right? Like, anytime you pay running backs, I feel it always backfires, but this one did not. So Cordarrelle Patterson, I'm so happy to see that this is working out for him. I kind of hope to see that he can do at least a little more on special teams, but hey, as long as he's producing somewhere on the field, I'm okay. So Cordarrelle Patterson had an amazing game, and he's facing a pretty good Browns team, so man, I think he'll be just fine. He's really been good all year, and statistically he didn't look great versus the Rams, but other than that, I think he actually did good there with the Rams too. So Cordarrelle Patterson, I'm expecting another breakout game versus the Rams. So it'll be exciting to see where this takes us. How much longer is he going to stay on the team? Who knows? But we're just thankful to have him. And the last takeaway here is, I need to be careful with this though, but the Falcons, dare I say, have momentum going for them. And part of it is because they're in the NFC. The NFC is just, on the weaker side of things when it comes to playoffs. Like, pretty much anyone can take that 7th seed. The Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys even could. But I don't know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are only a win above us, and I'm not actually expecting that we finish over them in the division, but it's still something to keep in mind. And then we're tied with the Panthers and Saints. Man, if we had actually just not fumbled it on 3rd and 1 versus the Saints, and if we had actually thrown to Kyle Pitts versus the Rams, we could have been 3-0, but it's what it is. The Falcons are tied with every other division rival, and man, the NFC 7th seed, maybe the 6th seed is kind of up for grabs. And the Falcons just need to, they just need to keep this up. A win versus the Browns is pretty telling. And then a win versus the Buccaneers is definitely telling. But let's focus on the Browns. We are home at least. I don't know how well Browns fans travel, but hopefully the Falcons fan base will be just as good as it was week 1, and the momentum from week 3 will continue into week 4. So we'll see where this goes, but other than that, I hope you all stay safe. And if there's anyone in Florida especially, I hope you all stay safe because there's a hurricane coming in. And at first, I'll admit, I didn't take it seriously because my hometown, it never really got affected by hurricanes all that much in recent years, except for what happened in 2017. But this one kind of looks legit, at least, where I live. So regardless of where you're at, I hope you all stay safe. And I'll admit, I don't actually know how the weather's going to look in Atlanta or in the Georgia area. But if anything happens, stay safe. Or if you're watching this outside of the East Coast, fact is, stay safe and rise up.